Inside Ashford with Phil Thorne.
This podcast is brought to you by My Printing Pal, Ashford's newest digital printers. You can find us on Station Road or visit us online at myprintingpal.com.
Inside Ashford, in association with TotalAshford.com.
Hello, we're all the King's Men. This is Indecision.
Welcome along to this edition then of Inside Ashford, one we've been promoting on the Facebook page for a while now, where we talk about Ashford's music scene. Maybe it's got one, maybe it hasn't, all things sort of to do with that. We've got a few guests in the studio, one of which you'll be hearing a lot more of a little bit later on because they'll be performing for us. They played at the Right Track stage at last year's Create Festival. They are all the King's Men. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, thank you. We've also got with us Steve Kellam. He presents a specialist blues show on AHBS Community Radio in Ashford. Been doing that for a couple of years now, and has also been the musical director for the Ashford Rugby Club Beer Festival for about the last 5 years, and particularly in 2013 organised a special blues day on the Sunday, which went down an absolute storm. Evening, Steve.
Good evening, Phil. Yeah.
You're laughing there.
No, I like the word director.
Also joining us, James Vince has done 14 seasons, so he tells me, of Live in the Living Room now. It's a great concept. How easy is something like that to put together?
Well, it all kind of happened by accident, really. I never think the show would be a success as it was. It's just basically sending out lots of messages to bands and things like that, saying, "Hey, do you want to come and play in my living room?" It's not as weird as it sounds.
Right. Okay. And also, you've done a recent Live in the Living Room tour as well.
Yeah. That was September, October, 13 dates across Kent. It was awesome.
Fantastic. We'll talk about that a bit more. Also joining us in the studio, and she's feeling a little bit outnumbered, is Abbie, who's just started presenting BBC Introducing in Kent. Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for coming all the way down here
That's
from Tunbridge Wells to sit in a room full of men.
You're very welcome. I'm used to it. I've got 3 brothers.
You took over from Jacob.
Yeah, that's right.
Who did the show, was it for 5 years?
4.5 years.
4.5 years. Tough act to follow or not?
A bit, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, but I'm enjoying it. I was producing the show anyway, so I think that kind of eased me into it a little bit.
And we were talking off air a little bit earlier on about the fact that when he left, he put together a compilation sort of list of all his favourite tracks over the 4.5 years he's been doing the show. And one of the things that I noticed from that is that nothing on it was from Ashford. Do you have an explanation as to why?
I'm feeling outnumbered now, I must say.
Yeah.
No, please feel free to be honest. That's the whole point of this. It's not staged or set up or anything. It's about getting people to get their opinions about, why maybe Ashford wasn't in there. What do you think?
I don't know. It seemed maybe there's a lack of music being uploaded to BBC Introducing from Ashford. I think that can be the only reason, really.
How'd you get your music for the show? How'd you put the show together?
So we get all our music sent like in an inbox. So everyone goes to bbc.co.uk/introducing. And if you're from Kent, there's a little uploader tab. You put in your postcode, and then all the music from Kent we get straight into an inbox. We listen through to it all, and then whichever music we like, we'll obviously make the playlist for the show.
And does each show kind of have a specific theme or anything like that, or is it just kind of like the best you get each week? Do you go back to old tracks you've had before if you don't get enough new stuff in? How does that work?
It's usually a 50-50 split, so it'll be music sort of that we played the week before, and then also brand new stuff as well. And we try and kind of split it between all the different genres as well.
So predominantly then, which area of Kent are you getting the most stuff from?
Probably Tunbridge Wells, I suppose.
Right.
There's quite a big music scene there, I think, though, because of the Forum, which obviously is a massive venue. What's the other areas? There's quite a lot of producers from sort of Dartford and those kind of areas as well.
And is there a specific genre that seems to be doing particularly well at the moment?
Oh, that's a good question.
There's so many different genres of various.
That's the thing. There's so many
sub-genres and sub-genres.
Yeah. No, we've got a couple of really great bands from Kent, but yeah, I think a lot of kind of electronic and producers are coming through as well.
Well, I was fortunate enough last weekend to go down to Brighton, to BIM, the Brighton Institute of Modern Music, and a couple of the acts that I saw down there have already got sort of links up with BBC Introducing in sort of that area as well. And do you think that maybe if there was a similar sort of institution in Kent, not necessarily Ashford, but certainly in Kent, that there would be similar links forged? Or do you think it's just too easy for people to kind of say, let's go and do a gig in London? Or, from here, it's easy to get to Brighton in an hour. Hastings is a fairly vibrant scene down there. You can get there in 45 minutes on the train. Less time to get to St Pancras and things like that. Do you think that's maybe why? Or do you think if we had an institution like that based in Kent, it would kind of lead a few more acts to come from there as well? Yeah,
it may do. I think because when everyone does gigs, they either go to London or they go to like the Forum. There's not really any other venues around in Kent that are kind of, that prestigious.
Steve?
That prestigious.
I quite agree.
Yeah,
as you well know.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your take on that then?
The problem I have, obviously, Ashford, bred and born.
Yeah.
Even born and bred.
Yeah.
There is nowhere in Ashford.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, you've got your pub rock, your pub.
Now, some pubs would dispute that. I mean, our friend Neil Tegg, who runs the Windmill, has unsigned bands and originals bands on a Thursday night from time to time. And he is one of the main supporters of it, but there's nowhere else really, is there?
What Neil is doing up there is fantastic. I mean, he's worked really hard at the pub, and he's got a great little venue going there. However, some of it is I know we can't mention names, but some of it is sponsored.
Right.
So there is, he does get that help there, which is great, and I'm not knocking that because maybe that is something else other people need to look at.
Right.
But there is nothing, and I don't think it's necessarily. You mentioned the G word, which, as you well know, I don't use.
Genre.
It's about the young lads that are going to be here later.
Yeah.
There's nowhere for them to go to try and test. There's not a place for them to go and say to all their mates, "We'll come down. Give us a couple of quid to come down and see us just to cover costs." There's no trial and error. So if they don't know what the local how the local scene is,
Yeah.
and if there isn't a scene,
Yeah.
they're going to go out of town.
Right,
They're
who's going to
gonna
speak?
lose these lads.
Who's going to speak for the band then?
Who's got the nicest voice?
It's not always the lead singer, from my estimation, but go on, Angus.
Wow, Angus, mate.
Fight back. Okay. Have you played the Windmill?
We haven't played the Windmill.
Okay. So where have you actually got out and played your music then?
Well, in the summer we played a lot of small festivals like Cranbrook Music Festival and Ashford Music Festival. But other than that, we have kind of had to go towards Tunbridge Wells and London and stuff like that to get gigs. So it is difficult, I suppose.
James, you put on gigs from time to time at the Windmill anyway, don't you? Your acoustic gigs and things like that.
Yeah, I remember the first ever charity music contest I did was there, but recently I haven't really done much stuff at the Windmill.
Yeah.
It's not Neil's fault. I just haven't. I just moved on to other venues.
I mean, let's just say this show isn't sponsored by the Windmill or anything like that. There are lots of other pubs in Ashford that are trying to put on music, but invariably a lot of them are pub covers bands. Which is great to get the regular crowd out and things like that, but it doesn't sort of inspire creativity, and that's kind of what you're looking for on BBC Introducing, really, isn't it?
Yeah, we're basically looking for the next big thing all the time.
Yeah, okay. Who are the next?
Not doing anything
A
after
few
them.
costs from the band.
Yeah. So,
fine.
okay,
Coincidental.
drop a few names in our direction and where they're from, and who are the next sort of big things coming through in Kent at the moment?
Probably the biggest band we're championing at the moment are Slaves. They're a punk duo from Maidstone. They've picked up loads of play on like Radio 1. They're being supported by Zane Lowe, Phil and Alice, Hugh Stevens, and also Stephen Mack on Six Music.
Right. Have you had anything to do with that?
We forwarded them on.
all right.
We tipped them for a festival stage. They played at Reading and Leeds, and since then it's just blown up. They're such a good live act. So once you see them live, I think
that's the thing, isn't it? Getting the stuff into BBC Introducing opens the market completely, because even if you put your thing through there, if you like it, it's going to go further afield anyway. It's almost like a lot of the marketing is done for them.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's what we're trying to do. It's almost like BBC Introducing is just like a small part. It's like, think of like a big octopus. Bear with me. So BBC Introducing is like one of the, what are they called? Tentacle things?
Yeah.
And then all the other national stations or national introducing shows are a part of that. So Jen and Ali on Radio 1.
Yeah.
Hugh Stevens on Radio 1. Tom Robinson on Six Music, and we can pass them on to all those different shows. And then another kind of tentacle is festival appearances, so we'll take them to play at Reading and Leeds or Tea in the Park or even Glastonbury, and that's another thing. Or we can put them forward to do sessions at Maida Vale. That can be another way to kind of spread interest.
Yeah.
I don't know what the last tentacle will be, but that's it.
Yeah. No, well, so it's a 7-tentacled octopus. That's
It's all fine.
brilliant. Okay. Well, let's hear from the guys some more then. So they're going to play another track for us now, and then we'll come back and have a bit more of a chat.
Inside Ashford, in association with TotalAshford.com.
This song's called Antelope.
of the show. Right, we've had a few debates, or rather issues, brought up for debate via the Facebook page. Thank you to everyone who contributed for that. Let's go through a couple of them. Richard Chippy Sutton, what the town needs is a family-friendly venue where all ages can get to see live music. Pubs are great if they'll allow families in of an evening to see a band. Otherwise, young people miss out on all the local talent and don't get inspired to try it for themselves. James, what's your take?
I agree, yeah, there does need to be something like that in Ashford. I mean, we have pubs, we have places that are pubs and kind of venues.
Yeah.
But there is no dedicated music places,
Right.
like the Forum or something like that in Ashford.
But what about, as Richard put forward there, about a family-friendly venue? I mean, Abbie, what do you take on this? You know, families going to gigs?
I'm trying to think of a family-friendly venue, and I can't think of one.
I can't think of one either.
Because, like you were saying, most of them are pubs, and obviously that means children can't come in. So I don't know.
No.
Steve?
I think where Chip is coming from is because obviously he's got a young family.
Right.
They love to go out to the to watch the venues.
Yeah.
You know, and it's very difficult for the young kids to go out as well.
Yeah.
And I think you've got to get them at a young age.
What do you think about the actual acts that will play? I mean, we're talking, I mean, we both know Richard and Sam very well, and their kids are 11 and 8. What about, no offence to you guys, about the 15, 16, 17-year-olds who can't get into venues, who can't get into pubs? Where is there for them to play as well? We know, we both know Steve Monk, who does Rock Hard on AHBS. Very well, and he many years ago, not that many years, about 10 years ago, he ran Ashford Rocks, which was out at Homelands at the football club, and had sort of like regularly had 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds in attendance, went with their older brothers, their siblings, parents dropped them off, they had a fantastic evening of sort of rock and metal music, picked them up and went, and then the regulations changed and the crowds kind of dropped off. What is there to bring that crowd back, the 14? I mean, I know that those who are 14, 15 going at that stage are now 24, 25 and are sort of in bands or just not bothered anymore. But what about those who are coming through at that age now? What have we got for them?
Well, there isn't anything because you've got what I regard as antiquated laws regarding licensing.
Right.
If you've got a licensed establishment, and I'm talking alcohol, you can't have under 18s in there.
Right.
So you can have an under 18s set up.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get the over 18s there,
right?
Because there's no alcohol.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Is it a catch-22?
Do you need to have alcohol to have a good night out watching a band?
Well, we don't. We know that, but
okay,
you know,
one of the dads over there says yes. Were you referring to this lot, or just
in order to enjoy us?
Yeah.
But these lads now are at that age where they can have a drink. But you've got certain places, you know, they've got a restricted licence. They can only have a certain age group there.
What do you think? I mean, Abbie, with regards to like the acts actually wanting to play to families and things like that, do you think that's something that they want to do?
Definitely some of the bands. I mean, ones that go on to say Radio 1, their target audience is quite young. It's like 14 to 24-year-olds. So if they're appealing to those people, which they should be, that means, you know, people that are 14 to 17 do want to go out and see those bands. They've heard them on the radio. They've heard them on BBC Introducing. They've heard them on a national station. The only place I can think of that does like underage nights is like a tiny little place in Sevenoaks.
Right.
So there should be more.
Yeah, definitely more 100%. Scope for those. And things like the Create Festival. I mean, you guys played last year at the Create Festival. I was lucky enough to sort of be the compere on the stage when you lot came on, actually. And one of the things that we've done previously, Chris from Right Track, who kind of obviously, you know, supports that stage, he gets some of his people who actually learn, some of his students who actually learn at the school on the stage doing things as well. And one of the things we had there, the first act I think I ever compared on that stage was a drummer who was 10. And he did a 10, his idol was, what's his name? Drummer, Cozy Powell, thank you. Yeah, his idol was Cozy Powell. And he did a 10-minute sort of drum solo, literally. It's made his day. He had about 50 friends and family down the front watching him. It's fantastic. It was the only time he's ever going to get to perform on a stage like that. You know, so there is more scope for things like that. And we'll come back to talking about the Ashford's festival scene, particularly because you're quite involved in it, Steve, in a little while. Another one of these questions, and this you may get the point, Abbie, that this is kind of a recurring issue here. Alex sends a message. Ashford needs a proper venue like the Lees Cliff Hall or the Winter Gardens. More pubs and restaurants and just generally a big overhaul of the town centre. Oh, we don't get into that political stuff. That happens a lot. But the point is, Ashford needs a proper venue like the Lees Cliff Hall or the Winter Gardens. What do you think?
Isn't Platform 5 quite a good venue in Ashford?
Platform 5, James, you've
I always see it on gig listings. I haven't been myself, but I've heard it's pretty cool.
It's a good venue. I mean, it's turning into a good venue. I mean, I've had some good nights there.
Yeah.
Watching like some local bands and that, and it's the only place that I can think of like that in this area. But
Right.
I don't know if it's. I don't really know because it's a pub and a kind of venue at the same time. It's not a dedicated venue.
Do you think that sometimes pubs who then put on gigs want to focus more on getting people in just to buy the beer rather than actually? I'm not saying specifically that's the case for Platform 5. I know a couple of other venues put on gigs, put on bands, whether it be covers bands or originals bands, just to get people in to buy the beer.
Yeah, I mean, the guys and I were just saying about that. With pubs, it certainly does appear to be that the bands are brought in to sell beer. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you can't knock them for that. That's what they're in business for.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to run a business. Platform 5 has been mentioned. It's got a restrictive licence.
Yeah.
You know, it's 21s and overs. So where does that help these guys?
Yeah. I know they've had acts in before play that are younger than that age, but it's the people coming in to watch them. It's you don't necessarily. I mean, how old are you guys? Sorry, is it
17.
17 in unison. Fantastic. Okay.
Practice.
But how many of your fans would be over the 21 who could go in there and things like that? It does restrict.
It's not large group for them are over 21.
And that's not getting at the venue because obviously that's been put on them by the forces that be.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, but that is a perfect example of a venue in Ashford that's restricted to who they can put on.
Yeah, it is the one venue that does support unsigned music on a regular basis.
Yes, yeah.
And unfortunately, they have that restriction against them, which is rather a shame. Simon Woodhams from the band Ashes, drummer. I've known him for a few years now. He messaged in saying it's very hard to get gigs as very limited venues for original music. When you go and watch a band, you know, when you're doing your research for your show, and a band that you've gone to see suddenly rack up and do a cover, what's your initial reaction?
I don't think a cover's necessarily a bad thing. If they're doing a set and they chuck in a couple of well-known numbers to, like, you know, please the crowd, I think that's a good thing. But obviously, I'm kind of on the lookout for new music specifically.
Yeah. But would that kind of like buy you into a band? It's like, oh, well, they do that version of that very well. I wonder what their original stuff's like. Or do you want to hear kind of their original stuff?
Well, most of the things I hear are usually the originals, but then if I go to see them live and they do a cover really well, obviously that just makes me like more.
James, on Live in the Living Room, do you get the acts? I mean, how many acts have you had in over the
320 at the minute.
Is that 320 recordings?
Recordings, yeah.
Or different acts?
Different acts.
Wow. And how many cover versions have you heard?
Quite a few.
And how many versions of Sex on Fire have you heard?
Not as many as I thought.
Yeah.
And not much Ed Sheeran, actually, which is actually a good thing.
Right. Okay. That's a whole different debate right there. It used to be a joke between Steve and I that how many cover bands we would go to see that would actually play Sex on Fire in the course of their set. Didn't you ban that at the beer festival last year?
Yes.
No band. None of the covers
Fire.
bands was actually allowed to play Sex on Fire.
Yeah, which really upset Ledger River.
Yeah. You were talking earlier on about the next big thing, Slaves, what you mentioned earlier on. We stopped there. Give us some more.
Tom Williams and the Boat are already quite big, but they're coming back with their third album next year. They're also going to be quite big. There's a producer called Cat's Hero, who's from Tunbridge Wells. He's just started getting some sort of plays on Radio 1. He's done loads of great remixes. He's really like Daft Punky in sound. He's amazing. Who else is there? There's loads. There's a band called Young Romance. Right. They're like a little duo from Seven Oaks. Again, who are really brilliant, really catchy, like indie pop music. Get Inuit from Sittingbourne. Yeah. All their songs have really like fun names and they're really great as well.
Right.
Who else? Should I say some Ashford bands?
If you can, that would be great. That would fit really well.
Star One are from Ashford. They're two brothers.
Right.
They've been on Extra Talent Loads on One Extra.
Yeah.
They're really great at what they do. Tim Green is a massive producer from Ashford.
Right.
Like he gets paid by Pig Tong and all the big dogs. He's amazing. So there you go. There are people from Ashford. All right. I can go now.
And of course, as these headphones I'm wearing are pretty good, all the King's Men. Because who was whispering at that point? Who was it? Yeah.
I was thinking, are they from Ashford? It's a risk, you know.
Yeah.
This podcast is brought to you by My Printing Pal, Ashford's newest digital printers. You can find us on Station Road or visit us online at myprintingpal.com.
Find us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for Total Ashford.
One final comment that came through on the Facebook page, thanks to Alan Stamp, who's organising the pantomime he's part of, is it? Yeah. He said a theatre space would be nice as well as a music venue. There is the old Ashford Christian Fellowship building opposite the Phoenix pub, which is also closed as well, which the council could make into a music and performance space. You could do also, and I think you've touched on this on an off-air debate with them actually, hire a local hall and put on the event yourself. It's a bit more work, but it works really well.
It wasn't so much hiring a hall, it was or anything really, but yeah, for the guys to put on an event, but then it costs money to put on. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And where do they go? I mean, a young band, it's always going to be the parents.
Yeah.
Let's face it, it's always going to be the parents.
We've got one nodding away there at the back.
Yeah, well, it's the same with Jack. You know,
Yeah.
for me. The parents will always going to support their kids, hopefully.
Yeah.
I don't see anything coming from anywhere else.
Yeah. Is that kind of that you think there maybe should be some local funding for up and coming music and things like that, rather than ploughing it into venues, actually ploughing it into supporting the acts?
Most definitely, and I suppose it's unfair for me to say anything because there's nobody here to defend themselves. But you know, Ashford historically in recent years is very good at bringing in, you know, building loads and loads of houses and taking in loads and loads of revenue from council tax and all that. But where's it going? Where's it going to?
You want to see some more of it coming to the sort of.
I want to see more of it
scene.
coming back out to certainly the kids of the community. Yeah.
Speaking of creative scene, I mentioned again off air the Create Festival, and we should be expecting some information about this year's Create Festival at Victoria Park very soon from Chris, who's the organiser of the event. That's the only one you're sort of familiar with in Ashford,
yeah,
isn't it?
that's right. We covered it when it happened last year. We got some interviews with some of the bands and played them out on the show.
Yeah, and Laura was running around with a microphone because she
that's right.
She got me one point in the afternoon as well because she asked me what I was doing, and I said, "Well, I'm actually comparing the Right Track stage over there." So so she caught me during the course of the afternoon as well. And I think Adam Dowling got a bit of a buzz out of doing the Create stage.
He was in the radio car, wasn't he?
Yeah,
absolutely loving it.
And obviously, you know, spending a lot of time sort of in Ashford over the years as well, because he started at AHBS, the community radio station.
That's right. Yeah.
And then went on to sort of KMFM, and now he's doing his own Sunday afternoon thing on Radio Kent. So he's chuffed with that, and we all know him and all wish him well with that. But there are other events sort of going on throughout the summer in Ashford, as well as the Create Festival, which is always the last Sunday in July normally?
Usually.
Yeah. It kind of clashes with a couple of other events locally, but there are other events. I mean, you've got the Festival in the Park, which is its 10th year this year, Steve. You're more involved in that 10th, as well.
Yeah, well, but only for the last two years, 3 years maybe, that I've sort of helped out basically, just back in the back scenes, bit of advertising. You know,
I'm going to throw this at you. That seems to be the festival that more of the local musicians actually go to.
Yes, I would say yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Any particular reason for that, do you think?
I don't know. Well, obviously everything's voluntary. Everything that's done for that festival is voluntary.
Right.
Nobody gets paid to do anything, and any money that is gleaned from that weekend goes to charity.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know how Edward does it. I mean, I think some of it's held back.
Friendly gov Ed Lockett we're talking about there.
Yeah,
he does it all himself
goes,
as well.
He does everything himself. Yeah.
And it goes to, is it the Ashford Youth Theatre as well, I think?
The Ashford Youth Theatre get a lot of funding from that, yeah.
So we definitely should get more people going along to that. And then there's the one that, again, you've been involved in for a few years now, down at the rugby club, which we interviewed the captain of the ladies rugby team a few weeks ago, who basically sort of said, you know, it's a 3-part festival now, isn't it? It's the rugby,
it is, yeah.
It's the beer, and it's the music all sort of rolled in together.
Well, when Chris Akers first started it, all those years ago, it was going to be a beer festival and rugby and beer festival. I think it was the first year. I think we had one solo act, one little acoustic act played once or twice over the course of the weekend. Historically, it's just got bigger and bigger, and it has turned into a bit of a music festival as well. But we need to kind of keep the feet on the ground. It is primarily a beer rugby music festival, and a lot of people kind of get the three mixed up.
Yeah. So you've been involved in kind of like the is director too strong a word? Musical director?
I think it probably is, actually. I think it's been very complimentary, thank you.
Yeah.
That don't come off through very often.
No.
But no, it's, Chris Akers, before he died, asked me to get involved with the music side of it because he was taking more and more on. It was getting bigger and bigger, and, he just couldn't do everything.
Yeah.
So he asked me to get involved with the music side of it, which I did probably 5 or 6 years ago. Cool. And, of course, everybody knows Chris passed away.
Yeah.
And then the year after he passed away, I, along with one other, kind of got involved and we put the whole thing on.
Yeah.
It's an awful lot of work for 2 people. So now I kind of just step back, music, and that's all I do.
Do you find that it's a lot of the same people doing the same things? Because, I mean, you obviously, we've talked about 2 festivals there and you're involved in them both. And then there's Create as well, which you sadly can't go to because it always clashes with something.
Yeah, to be fair, Festival in the Park is Edward.
Mm.
I mean, he's got his hands firmly on the throttle on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it generally always is the same kind of people, and if it weren't for those people, these things wouldn't happen. We all moan and groan about it.
Yeah.
But we always come back next year and do it again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same it's going to be. BBC Introducing, didn't they do a gig last year?
Yeah, we do a birthday gig every year, so it's happening at the end of March. We're also doing another gig, which obviously everyone should come to. It's for Independent Venue Week, which is at the end of January and beginning of February. So on Sunday, the 2nd of February, there's loads of great talent at the Forum in Tunbridge Wells.
Okay, right. And when's the birthday one normally? End of March?
End of March, that's right, yeah.
Was it a Sunday? That would be
Sunday,
Sunday, that'd be the 30th.
Yeah,
Sunday the 30th. Okay. Any more tours planned, James?
Tours?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm all about tours.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us a bit more quickly about the sort of Live in the Living Room tour. How did that actually happen?
It was another one of my crazy ideas, which just happened.
Happened in your living room, perchance, this idea?
Yes, it did, actually.
There we go. There's a theme.
Exactly, it all happens in my living room. But yeah, so I thought it would just be nice to actually go out on tour with the show. I thought just do like 4 dates.
Did you take a sofa with you so that all the acts performing were performing on a sofa?
I could have recreated my living room. Every venue, I don't think they would like that.
Right, okay.
No, it'd be a pain in the ass to move as well.
Decor was a bit bad, was it?
Sorry?
Decor was a bit bad in your living room.
Oh!
Yeah. Right, okay, so it started off as a 4-date tour.
Yeah, it started out as a 4-date tour.
Yeah.
So I thought I could just do it like, it was supposed to be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I thought I could just do that.
Yeah.
And that'd be great. And then it expanded to 13 dates.
13 dates, starting where and finishing where?
Friday, 20th of September in Horsham, of all places.
Right. Which isn't even in Kent in the first place. So it's like...
No, it takes an age to get there as well.
Yeah.
And then, all sorts of places. Margate, Ashford, Maidstone, Canterbury, Gillingham, Chatham, all those places.
All unsigned acts?
Yeah.
Yeah. How was it attended? Because sometimes what we hear with unsigned acts, if they put on little gigs, they're not that well attended by people who aren't involved with the bands.
Yeah.
And if you're going to places like Horsham and like Sevenoaks with bands who are acts predominantly from this area, sort of East Kent, how did that go down?
Well, some of the shows were quite poorly attended, and some shows were rammed. It was just a mix, really.
Right.
But at the end of the day, everyone was doing it just for fun, really. I mean, no one was really upset that there wasn't anyone there.
Yeah.
At some shows, I mean, it's always a risk, especially when you do something on a Sunday.
Yeah.
But I had fun. I underestimated how much fun it was going to be.
Right.
So.
I think you've probably got an idea from tonight, Abbie, that what Ashford really wants, and I think from everyone in the studio, and that's kind of like a venue locally.
I'm not a builder, but
no.
I'll put a word out.
No, but if what would you? I mean, obviously we've spoken quite a lot about the Forum in Tunbridge Wells. What if you were sort of in a position where you could develop a venue locally? What sort of thing would it need to do to actually get people coming through the door? I mean, is it have acts on all week, or is it just a weekend type thing? What you're putting together your dream venue here?
If it was my dream venue, I guess gigs on every night.
Right.
A bar, obviously.
Yeah.
But also people can come in that are under 18 to come and watch the acts as well.
Right.
It's a kind of a good balance between everything.
Okay. We talked about genres earlier on. Incidentally, I'm interested in this. What's your favourite? Do you have a specific?
Don't have a favourite.
Is that BBC?
No, I actually don't. It's not me just saying that. I really don't.
All right, that's cool. Steve, where's your heart lie? Blues, isn't it?
Well, it is, yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's about the musicians getting the kids. I'll keep going back to sorry, I don't mean to keep saying kids, but the young people of our area, they've got nothing. It doesn't matter what sort of music they're playing, so long as they enjoy what they're playing, and they're getting something out of it. Whether it's blues, I don't know, rock and roll, punk, reggae, whatever. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Because there are a lot of genres that we that kind of get covered in the festivals, like at Create and things like that. But there's a lot of genres that don't. One of the things that's happened on Facebook is that there's been a Ollie from Black and the Name has kind of set something up. Said they want a metal stage at the Create Festival. Now, this year's Create Festival, the Right Track stage, hosted Black and the Name, and they, to quote a phrase from Ollie, tore it a new one.
Yeah.
I think that's about as close as I can come to, actually. But there's kind of like a reticence to kind of go down that line. But it is an underestimated genre. I mean, do you play that much thrash and heavy metal and stuff like that on the show? You can't really, can you?
No, we do play a little bit. It
Yeah.
depends. We don't get loads and loads submitted, but we've got some, like Feed the Rhino.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah,
obviously
Ollie.
absolutely
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah.
And they're from Kent, so we play them quite a lot.
They're playing a lot of the festivals this summer as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
But they are download, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So it's, what do you feel about sort of separate stages at the Create Festival? I mean, I know it's kind of like, is there room for sub-genre stages and things like that? Or do we find ourselves with like 50 stages and people not knowing which direction to go in then?
I think to be fair, I mean, I'm probably not the best person to comment on Create, and it's nothing to do with what Create is. It's just that I very rarely get to go because I'm normally away that weekend at another festival. But
James, you were wandering around with a camera and various things last year as well, weren't you?
Definitely,
Okay.
yeah.
What's your view on these sort of sub-genre stages then?
I think it's a good idea, but it's all a question of space. Because at the end of the day, there's obviously the massive main stage,
Yeah.
there's the Right Track stage, there's the acoustic stage, and then there's the dance tent like over there.
Yeah.
And it's a question of where can you put them without having lots of sound leakage. Because obviously the main stage kind of overpowers everything in a way, because it's meant to.
Yeah.
But it's a good idea, but I don't know where they put it.
So how would you feel then if, say, something was suggested, for example, that Create isn't just about one day? I mean, like, for example, 2013, they had Tim Burgess doing a solo gig at Revelation St Mary's, which we haven't mentioned that much, but is a venue that's had some fantastic acts playing in the middle of town. But how about if Create was sort of extended over a longer period? What are your thoughts on that?
It would be great. I mean, we've always said that it should, especially had the success it was last year, it should be more than one day.
Yeah.
But obviously not last year because the weather was terrible on Saturday. But still.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it was, yeah.
But yeah, it should be more than one day. Like 2 days would be brilliant. It would be much easier to book people and things like that. And I think that's what people want, but it costs a lot of money to put the event on in the first place. So it's a question is, would the council stretch to doing it for more than one day?
Yeah. Jonathan, you haven't done much on the show tonight. Right, you can do the contact details. People want to give us their feedback on the show.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to let us know about your views on anything that's been discussed tonight, studio@totalashford.com or visit facebook.com/totalashford, on Twitter @totalashford. If you want to leave a message, which will be recorded and we might play it out on a future show, 01233 885 243.
It's almost like you rehearsed that. Thank you very much. Right, let's go for some more stuff from the band then.
Have your say on Inside Ashford. Call Ashford 885 243.
That's it then for this edition of Inside Ashford. Thank you very much to all the King's Men for coming in. To James Vince, live in the living room. Check him out on YouTube. Thank you. Steve Kellam, radio presenter extraordinary. Who's not here? Oh, there he is. Thank you. And finally, Abbie from BBC Introducing in Kent. Thank you for standing in a studio of slightly warm men. Some young, some not so young. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. We're going to finish now with another track from All the King's Men, which is called
Phone Call.
Take It Away.
So this is it. The phone call in my room to finish this. After all this time, a phone call just feels like a crime. Try to make it work, 'cause my mind's a circle, so weird. Try to use your heart, 'cause if you shoot me I wanna see you. I don't wanna be friends. I wanna see you. I don't wanna be friends. Yeah, I wanna see you. I don't wanna be friends. Yeah, I wanna see you. I don't wanna be friends. So try to make it work. 'Cause my mind's a circle. So I wanna see you. I don't wanna be friends. I wanna see you. I don't wanna be friends. Yeah, I wanna see you. I don't wanna be friends. Yeah, I wanna see you. I don't wanna be friends. So try to make it work. 'Cause my mind's a circle.
This podcast is brought to you by My Printing Pal, Ashford's newest digital printers. You can find us on Station Road or visit us online at myprintingpal.com.